Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us on This Week in Milwaukee Rising with Technically. I'm Sorrina Beecher, the lead reporter for the region, and every week we feature an individual or group that is shaping Milwaukee's economic landscape, from the civic technologists and social impact innovators to the creative entrepreneurs, and we highlight solutions to help build a more equitable and inclusive future. This week, we're chatting with Ben Juarez and Carlos Vasquez, two technologists who recently joined forces to launch Latinos in Tech. And they are working to address the gaps in Milwaukee's tech industry. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Carlos, I am going to start with you. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what you're doing outside of Latinos in Tech, and then we'll talk about some of the work that you guys are doing.
Okay, so my name is Carlos Vasquez. I am a software engineer at Northwestern Mutual. I work there full time, and outside of work, I also started this technology company that focuses on creating Spanish technology resources for Spanish speakers. So, as just like a quick summary, technology is written in English, and most of resources are created in English. So, for someone to learn how to code, they have to learn a bit of English, or they have to know the syntax of what it means, which it can be translated in Spanish. So that's what I do outside of work, and I also work in Latinos in Tech with Ben Juarez.
Okay, and Ben, what about you?
Yakbeina na nutukai Ben Juarez. That is Nawat, this Salvadoran Nawat. There's also Mexican Nawat. I just wanted to introduce myself in that way, just to honor my ancestors. So what I do, I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Like-Minded, a company that focuses on assessments, personality assessments, and that connects people within organizations. I'm just happy to be here. I'm actually in El Salvador right now. It's nice and warm. Sorry for everybody that's really cold right now.
Right, rub it in our faces.
And then, I'm a co-founder of Latinos in Tech. So, I'm excited to discuss what we're doing here.
Yeah, and why don't we just jump right in with that? What is Latino in Tech, so our readers can get this food?
Well, we're an organization that wants to do right by people that are Latinos that are already in tech, and Latinos that are interested in going into tech. So we want to work on professional development, which we're doing. We actually had an event yesterday to discuss agile for any team that you might be a part of. And then an upcoming one next month, where an event which we call Nawi Ate, which is Nawi is 4, Ate is 0, 40 put together. So it's 40 minutes, the Zoom limit. But yeah, so that's what we work on. Just development. We're going to be working on personal development and mental health awareness within our community as well. That's another very important topic for us. And the just the idea or identity of our Latinidad, if you will.
Yeah.
Carlos, do you have more things? I'm sure you can fill more things in.
So Latinos in Tech is created, I would say, I like to think about it from two people in the community, So we definitely have our roots in the community, and we're from those communities, and we attended public schools, and all the resources that were out there. Our families had those. So I think now it's time for us to present the community with new resources, and that is technology. That's what we do. So I think that's something.
Yeah, and Carlos, I'm going to stick with you. What led you guys to launch this initiative? What made you want to start Latinos in Tech?
So what led me was my experience in technology when I was first starting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what led me. Like, I graduated high school, and then out of high school, I already had a job at a factory, and it was already set up by my dad. So he was like, "You're graduating. Let's go to work." And I graduated on Friday. It was a Saturday, and I worked on Monday at a factory.
Oh my
And just
goodness.
like that, I had my life kind of set up. And that's how my cousins, uncles, everyone who from a Latino family, just that's how it's set up. So I worked there for 2 years, and I started watching YouTube videos during work. Like I used to, when I had headphones instead of music, I used to listen to technology podcasts, or just like Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was actually the first person who got me into it because he was an engineer before he was a business person. So when he said the word coding or programming, that's what got me curious, and that's what led me to starting to do some research of my own. I quit my job, didn't have any plans because I didn't know where to go,
Mhm.
and I bounced around Milwaukee and I only stayed in my community. I didn't go anywhere else because I didn't know where to go. And there were some community resources, and they weren't really set up in a way where it would grant me success, as you say, because it was just more of like, here's a membership and learn programming, and that's it. And they
Right.
didn't help me out. They didn't tell me this is how you get started. This is how this program's gonna help you. So I did that, and it just didn't work out, and kind of got me frustrated because I'm like, I really wanted to get in tech, and had some kind of bad experiences trying to get in. And when I met Ben and I See Stars, I think that's what motivated me. And I think it was like 2 months in, that's when we started talking about it. Like, hey
Mhm.
man, like there's no group where we can go hang out, or there's no group that we can find resources. There's no group where we can feel comfortable, as with us being in our communities, because all the events are downtown, and
Mhm.
it's downtown is fun, but I think what's interesting is just your community creating those opportunities for you, and the community joining us. I think that's what made sense for it. So I think that's what led me to join forces with Ben,
Yeah.
and
And I
so that's it.
understand that you were also an intern of Ben. So,
Yeah.
Ben, how did you sort of get involved with, was this at IC Stars?
Yeah, it was at IC Stars. Carlos actually came up to me and started talking to me about it, and I said, this is great. Like, I can't do everything myself. So
Yeah.
when Carlos, he showed that initiative, that leadership, I was like, oh, this is gold right here. So I was like, I'll, whatever you need, I'll be there to help. And we started just discussing what we could do,
Mhm.
and both of us going to therapy actually brought in the mental health aspect
Mhm.
of it as well.
Hmm.
So that's another thing that really kind of connected us to join
Yep.
forces a lot, like in a stronger bond, if you will, when
Mhm.
it came to Latinos in tech.
And how did mental health kind of tie into, working in tech? Why was that sort of an important thread for you guys?
So there's two things. Mental health in the Latino community is generally um, seen as very, it's like taboo in a way.
Mhm.
If you need mental health help, then you're not in a right place to be working or something like that, right? That's usually kind of how it goes. When that's not really the case. Most people, if not everyone, needs some sort of mental health checkup at least once a year. So what we do is, or what we decided to do, was that would be kind of like a top priority, because if you have mental health, if you take care of your mental health, you're going to be just a much better employee, or
Mhm.
a much better founder, a much better just about anything. And people are going to want to work with you a lot more when you're therapy. It's just a fact. So we just decided that would be something, kind of a tenet of ours, to really go for that, and make sure that people are aware that maybe they don't feel bad, but maybe there's something that they need to take care of within themselves, and that will make them a much better technologist, just in general.
And I
And
want to
getting
go ahead, Carlos. Jump in.
and when getting in technology, it's really stressful because you're kind of engineered. Your brain is engineered to hard labor and just any job that you can find. So going out there and networking and meeting with people and asking questions and learning something on your own is so stressful that a lot of people that have come to me and asked me, "Oh, how do I learn how to code?" I asked them, you just you gotta be patient and you gotta be in a good place because
Sure.
you're gonna be on your own for a lot of hours, and then you're gonna ask somebody for questions, and you have to trust yourself to ask people questions, and you have to put in the time. So it's really stressful, and it can get to you because then I think on the first day you can already feel like a failure because you just struggle to. I think every engineer that I've met feels like a failure once a day, and it's those strong engineers that have good mental health that to them bother them because it's like
Mhm.
this is just temporary. This is just a few seconds of my time feeling this way. I'm gonna feel better in right the next minute. So I think that's where the mental health comes in, and it's very important.
For sure. And I want to expand a little bit on that, outside of issues like mental health, and we can start with you, Carlos. What are some of the barriers that Latinos face when they're trying to get in the tech industry? Like what are they sort of up against with, the whole reason why you guys wanted to start with?
So they're up against on how to get started, finding a path, finding connections, resources. Technology is free, so anyone right now at the moment with a cell phone can learn how to code on YouTube, which I'm pretty sure they already have it downloaded on their phone, and can just search up programming. So you already have that on your phone, and it's a barrier, but many people don't know that it's free. Right
Mm.
away, people think I have to go pay for a boot camp or I have to pay for it, and since we're Latinos, we're kind of not that patient with the progress of putting in time to something that's not with our hands.
Mhm.
So that's one of the barriers that we have is just we don't have a group or we don't have a platform or like last 2 years ago I created an event in the community for with my company Code, and nobody showed up and people
Mm.
were interested to join, but a lot of people were scared to join because they didn't know because they would feel out of place. They wouldn't feel comfortable going into this event that is not, you know, that they don't know about. So I think that's one of the barriers that even I experienced when I was there. Like I sat there and I'm like, how can I, get the community comfortable to learn something new that they don't know and that
Mhm.
they're afraid of? And I think that's when we came up with Lit, and everything that Lit has implemented is experiences that me and Ben have encountered in the community that our community needs.
And Ben, what about you? What are some of the experiences or barriers that you've personally experienced or have seen with other Latinos trying to get in the industry?
I think a lot of it does have to do with connections. A lot of engineers, a lot of white engineers that I've interacted with throughout my time as an engineer, um, they have had uncles or fathers that have been engineers that have helped them kind of get in, help them understand how to begin to be, the kind of engineer that they want to be. Um, but we don't have that much in our community. So it's really difficult for you to go and ask somebody for help that you might not know, right? But it's easy for somebody who has an uncle or a father or a mother or an aunt that is a technologist. So I thought about that, and I said to myself, like, that was my experience as well. When I was 30, I started to code. That's a far
Mm.
cry from somebody that's like 12 or even 16. And so I said to myself, well, nobody ever told me that I could do this.
Mhm.
And that's part of it right there. Is the barrier is that a lot of kids in our neighborhoods, a lot of girls, a lot of boys, they they're not given the opportunity or even told that they have the opportunity.
Mm.
So that's another thing that I actually started working on a company called Dream City Coders, and we started, kind of working on that for middle school age girls and boys, and it was a powerful thing to see that middle school age, especially for girls, because something happens, I don't know what, between middle school and high school for girls, where they just decide that technology is like for boys and not for them. So that was another thing that I learned, and that's something that we're gonna kind of work on as well at Latinos in Tech, because I've got my little nieces, my powerful little nieces, that want to build video games and build apps and things like that, and I want them to succeed. And for it's I just I just want to be there for people to, so they can get started on the journey, basically, and move from there.
So is
And a
part
lot
of
of
the
apps.
problem just the visibility then?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, is part of the problem just the visibility of other
Mhm.
Latinos working in tech? Carlos, you want to take that one? Or do you have something to
Yeah,
add?
yeah. Something to add. Something to add is that our communities don't have those resources, but
Mhm.
everyone has a newest app on their phone, and
Mhm.
every time something latest comes out, they have it downloaded. They know how to use it. When it comes to video games, apps, anything, they know how to use it. So the curiosity is there, but they don't know that they're able to build these applications or these video games. So I think
Mhm.
that's something to add, that our communities are flooded with just new apps all the time. That gets me mad that I don't really have that many apps downloaded, because they handle your data and you don't know how your data is used. And I always tell them, like, learn how this app uses your data first before you download it, just so you know how it works. So
Mhm.
that's something to add.
So, when it comes to visibility, when it comes to representation in the tech scene, whether it's through venture capital funding or whether it's through technologists actually working in the field, we know that those percentages are super low. I know with VC, it's combined Black and Brown 2.7, right? Like it's even less than that. So, how are what are some of the ways that you guys are working to address this through Lit? I know you mentioned some workshops and sessions, but what else are you doing? And Carlos, we can start with you.
Okay, I'll start with okay. Well, we're connecting with a lot of big businesses in the
Mhm.
community in Milwaukee. So that's one way that we're getting connected and addressing these challenges. Once the community sees that we're backed up, that gives us a little push,
Mhm.
because it's something about an image that you're legit, you're not legit. And once they see the big companies backing us up, I think they'll look at us differently, maybe, as a new initiative. And we're also in talks with companies that create startup resources in the country. So that's just a conversation that we're having. And I met with some of those people, and it's actually a Latino from one of those companies, and he felt the same way that we felt. So it's right now it's more of a having the conversations with the right people to find these resources, and find different barriers that different people in different um, tech technology in different parts of the technology are doing. So that's one.
And Ben, what about you? What are some of the ways that Lit can address some of these challenges?
Some of it is also connection, right? If
Mm.
we're able to connect to each other, and then help each other develop our skills and our emotional intelligence, things like that. Hold on, I got a big truck coming through. This is generally a really quiet street. Um, sorry. So it's about connection, right? Connecting everybody to each other. As we are connecting, we're able to help each other get into different positions, right? So if, for example, if I'm in at NM and I'm what's called a P2, or like a lower, or maybe just a regular engineer, and I want to work my way up, maybe I know a few people in like certain departments at NM that can help me get to a P3 status or a P4 status. Or maybe I know somebody at GE that has an opening, that where they would want to work with me. And so as we're making those connections, that network, um, we're becoming more powerful and a stronger force, if you will. Part of it is also, like we said, the mental health aspect, the emotional intelligence aspect. That's very important as well, because then you become somebody that others want to work with. And when you do that, then everybody starts to say, okay, well, these members at Latinos in Tech, they're really great to work with. We want to work with them, and let's go, find some engineers in that network.
Sure. And I'm curious, I know Carlos shared a little bit about his story about how he got into tech and what made him interested in getting in the field in the first place. What influenced your interest?
So I actually, by training, I'm a policy analyst. I was into politics and policy analysis, all these things, from an early age, and thought it would be great. Thought I'd save the world, etc. Um, it turns out, well, let's not talk about my political stuff. But anyway, as, because I wanted to become a better policy analyst, I just decided to continue my quest to become a better statistician. And so I started working with a lot of the statistical programs. I went from SAS to Stata, then worked in R. The next step was the programming language called Python. And so I started with Python, and I discovered that I was having fun and pretty good at it. So I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And so then I went from statistics to making random little video games or little applications, little desktop apps. And then from there, web apps and mobile apps. I started learning several different languages. And I thought to myself, holy shnikes. Wow, great. Like what if I would have started at an early age? I'd be the owner of Amazon or something. I'd be Ben Bezos or something. I don't know. But like I thought about that, and that's when I was like, okay, technology is definitely for me. So that's when I started Cream City Coders, and then from Cream City Coders, I was contacted to be the technology training manager for IC Stars in Milwaukee.
Okay. And you know what, just for our listeners, could you guys just talk a little bit about IC Stars? I know we mentioned it earlier, but a few people may not know what that is.
Yeah, IC Stars is a nonprofit. Some people call it a boot camp. We would call it kind of like a leadership training,
Okay.
nonprofit, if you will. So there's a lot of leadership training, but there's also a very strong and rigorous technology component, which is considered like the boot camp aspect of it. So interns go through that for about 16 weeks. It's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's very rigorous. Um, and so after that, they still have to complete another, what is that? How many months is 16 weeks? 4 months? 3 months?
Oh, yeah.
It's
I think
four.
it's 3 months.
It's four.
I think it's 3 months. Yeah, four?
Right?
Four, okay.
Oh my gosh. The technologists that don't know math. Anyway, so the rest of the time, it's a whole 24-month program. So it's yeah. So they do the first 4 months, and then the rest of the 20 months, they work with other people from the IC Stars organization, and they look for work. and also continue to develop their skills.
Sure. And I'm curious, Carlos,
Mhm.
you talked about sort of this visibility and not seeing people that look like you in the industry. What are some of the ways that Milwaukee's tech scene can improve its DE&I? How can they get more people, into the fold to experience tech and maybe even pursue a future in it?
Well, now it's a lot better because you have a lot of different companies working on this issue. You have Milwaukee Tech Hub. Uh, that's one. That's one. You have social. I think it's social X. I think that's the name
Mhm.
of the group. Um, and a lot of these companies are doing they're doing events in the community. So now it's I think it's in a better place, and I think instead of us trying to create new initiatives, I think it's better we just partner with
Mhm.
them. Why recreate everything if there's already stuff established? And I think if we join forces, we can cover a lot of Milwaukee together. Milwaukee is really segregated, so you have the south side being Latino, and then you have the north side being African American, and that's that. When I grew up in Milwaukee, that's how you looked at it, and
Yeah.
that's how we looked at it. I think now I look at it different. I think now I see so much going on the north side that I'm like, you guys have to go over there because there's a lot of good companies. There's a lot of networking events. There's a lot of good people doing amazing work. You have the Sherman Phoenix. I think that's what inspired me that Milwaukee could change. Just that whole initiative of small businesses getting together and creating a really fun environment where they can grow. So I think a lot of stuff is already out there, and we don't want to recreate it. I think we just want to partner, and we just want to grow together.
Sure. And Ben, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or you have any thoughts?
Yeah, as the mosquitoes start to come in. No, I'm just kidding. I I was thinking about that too, and one of the things that, and it speaks to Carlos's point where it's getting better, is we need like the larger companies to make significant contributions. One of the larger companies that we've seen do this has been American Family.
Mhm.
AmFam has made major contributions um, to the community, both the Black and Brown community. And so we're working on trying to kind of take advantage of that. But we would like to see other companies kind of step up, and the smaller companies as well. It'd be great to see them because this is kind of like a grassroots. This is a grassroots effort, and and so with the smaller companies playing a role, kind of all of them coming together and kind of playing a role in diversifying the tech landscape, that would be huge. I think it'd be bigger if they all came together than just a Northwestern Mutual giving us, a large check.
Mhm. Mhm. And last question, where would you want to see Litgo in the future? What's your guys' vision? And I'll let Ben answer first, and then Carlos, you can follow.
No, I was going to say, Carlos, take it away. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, we can.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Half joking. So, what we want to see, we actually, one of our big things is that we want to connect with the other Latinos in tech um, communities. There's two that I've been in contact with, Latinas in tech and Techeria. We would like to really, connect with them and really see how we can make this thing a little more on a national level.
Mhm.
Because we all have like different chapters. There's Latinos in Tech Atlanta, there's Latinos in Tech Boston, but it's not a part of an umbrella organization. It's everybody. Somebody comes up. It's very grassroots, which I like love, and I think that that's how it should be. Um, but we should see about creating kind of our network to help each other out. What if somebody from Atlanta wants to come to Milwaukee? Or they just got hired from a company in Milwaukee. Well, how can we make them feel comfortable? How can we make them feel plugged in? but also like try to figure out how we can also fund our startups together, and all these other possibilities. As somebody that that has his own startup, it's it's been pretty rough. It's ugly, trying to start a company and get funding. And so, like, what if we didn't need to go to these VC firms? What if we didn't need to go to these angel investors? What if we could figure out a way to fund ourselves, without all like the huge costs that come with it? So that's another thing that I really want to look into, in the future.
Great. Carlos, what's on the horizon for Lit?
I think Ben hit on the spot because a couple months ago, me and Ben and two other Latino founders tried we tried doing a startup too, and we dealt with a lot of challenges of funding, and we kind of had a lot. We even had a web application ready, and we had a vision set, and even then, it was just difficult. So just to add to his point, so the future, I like to look at things day by day, but everything that I do day by day leads to what just Ben said, of being in contact with other groups. I actually joined groups on Facebook already, and a lot of resources that they posted could benefit us too. So it's like, come on, man, let's talk. And one of my goals for this year is actually to go down to 2 states and talk with them, and just go to one of their events and just meet them. That's one of my main goals that I'm going to achieve, because I think it's just starting the conversation, somebody going. I think that will help everybody.
Right.
And
Let's
seeing
start in
that
Miami.
it started right there, you go. So yeah, just being connected and sharing each other's resources, and I'm pretty sure there's engineers in Google, Microsoft, the Apple that are out there that I'm pretty sure they feel the same way. Where like I'm the only one in my team that's Latino actually right now at Norwestern Mutual, and at times you struggle with it because you have that you look at it from a cultural aspect of like it's I'm in their culture and I accept it, and there's something wrong with it. But there's times where I'm like, it's challenging when it comes to mental health of having a diverse team. And I think that's where diversity comes in for companies, because it's actually pretty helpful.
Yeah.
And it's, it takes a toll on you when you're starting. So I think for the future, I think just helping companies get more diverse while also creating a pipeline between nationwide pipeline of groups just supporting each other.
Great. Well, I definitely want to thank both of you guys for joining us today. And this was a very insightful conversation. I'm dropping your website here below, Latinos in Tech. So make sure you guys go and check that out. I also want to remind people to subscribe to This Week in Milwaukee Rising at technically/subscribe. And invite you guys to join the conversation. Next week, we will have a recap of our conversation here with Carlos and Ben, and you can read more at technically/series/Milwaukee. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I wish you the best in luck. And make sure you go to their events. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.